The reverse eviction.
The sun of California, warm and kind, even at its late afternoon warmth, shone through the windshield of Arthur's well-kept, yet old Ford Ranger. Today was his birthday. He was 78 years young. He didn't feel a day more than 77 and a half, he chuckled to himself. His calloused, gnarled hands, shaped from decades of holding tools, drummed out a steady beat against the steering wheel. In the passenger seat was a bakery box, wrapped with a string, full of German chocolate cake, his favorite, bought from a downtown shop that had been in place since his own father's day. He pulled into the familiar, slow-sloping drive of his son's house. His son's house. Even after all these years, he still referred to it that way, though he lived in the neat but cozy little guest house out back. He had constructed the big house himself, 30 years prior. Every stud, every shingle, every pipe set down with the sweat of his brow and the promise of tomorrow. He'd raised his son, Mark, there. When Clara died, the big house had been a hollow museum of memories. So when Mark married Sarah, a smart, driven woman with a wicked laugh, it was understandable. Arthur stayed in a guest house, they stayed in the main house, and he paid a minimal rent, really more of a formality than anything. It kept things businesslike, Mark had explained.
Arthur parked and grabbed the cake. He could hear the sounds of the party from the backyard, the squeals of his two grandchildren, Liam, age 10, and Chloe, age 7, the murmur of adult conversation. He walked around the side, taking a moment to appreciate the structure. The porch railing needed tightening. He'd noticed a wobble last week. The gutter on the south side was pulling away slightly. He added it to the mental list he constantly maintained for this place. It was his life's work, after all. "Grandpa," Liam yelled, spotting him first. A blur of motion, and Arthur was engulfed in a hug that smelled of grass and sunshine. Chloe was close behind, clinging to his leg. "Hey, my little foreman," he said, his voice a low rumble. "What's the project for today?" "We're building a fort," Liam declared. "With a moat," Chloe added, her eyes wide with importance. Arthur chuckled. "A moat. Ambitious. I like it." He handed Liam the cake box. "Carry this to the kitchen for me, Chief. Carefully." He was greeted with a chorus of "Happy birthday, Arthur!" from Sarah's side of the family, her brother, a couple of friends. Mark was at the grill, a pair of long tongs in hand. He offered a quick, distracted smile. "Hey, Dad, grab a seat. Burgers are almost up." Sarah came over, giving him a light, perfunctory hug. "Happy birthday, Arthur. You didn't have to bring anything." A man should provide the cakes for his own birthday party, he said, an old-fashioned sentiment he knew she found quaint. Her smile was tight, not reaching her eyes.
The party proceeded. The food was good, the beer was cold, and the children's laughter was a balm to his soul. For a while, Arthur let himself believe in the picture-perfect scene. This was what he had worked for, this family, this continuity. As the sun began to dip lower, casting long shadows across the manicured lawn, Mark clinked his bottle with a spoon. "All right, everyone, gather round. Time for the main event." Arthur felt a warm flush of embarrassment and pleasure. He hated being the center of attention, but he loved that his family wanted to make a fuss. He sat in the designated birthday chair, a patio lounger they draped with a cheesy "King for a Day" banner. Sarah emerged from the house, not with a cake, but with a large, flat, rectangular object covered by a cloth. She was holding her phone, seemingly recording. Mark stood beside her, a wide, slightly unnatural grin on his face. "So, Dad," Mark began, his voice taking on a theatrical tone, "you know we're always thinking about you, about your future." Arthur's smile faltered slightly. "My future? Son, at my age, my future is mostly behind me." A ripple of polite laughter from the guests. "Exactly," Mark said, a little too enthusiastically. "And we want what's best for you. You've worked hard your whole life. It's time to relax. Really relax." Sarah pulled the cloth away with a flourish. It was a large, high-end tablet. On the screen was a sleek, professionally designed image that looked like an official document or a corporate brochure. At the top, in bold modern font, were the words, "Eviction Notice, Phase 1. Arthur's brain stuttered. The words didn't make sense. Eviction? "See, Dad?" Mark continued, his voice dripping with what he must have thought was playful humor. "We're giving you your freedom! The guest house? It's time to trade that old tool belt for a bingo card, am I right? We're turning it into a proper home gym, a yoga studio for Sarah. No more rent, no more maintenance. It's a win-win." The screen on the tablet changed. A digital countdown clock appeared, bright red numbers stark against a black background. It read, 90 days to vacate. "We even got you a countdown clock," Sarah chimed in, zooming in with her phone's camera on Arthur's face. "So you can get excited. We've already started looking at some fantastic senior living communities. They have activities, people your own age." Arthur's world shrank to the size of that glowing red screen. The sounds of the party, the chatter, the rustling trees, muffled into a dull roar. He could feel the eyes of everyone on him. Sarah's family, their friends. He saw Sarah's brother nudge his wife, a smirk playing on his lips. Then Mark laughed. A loud, forced braying sound. "Look at his face! Priceless! He's in shock! Don't worry, Dad. It's a joke! A birthday joke!" The dam broke. Sarah started laughing, covering her mouth. Her brother guffawed. The other guests, taking their cue, joined in, the laughter spreading through the group like a contagion. Even the children, confused, but seeing the adults laugh, started to giggle. Arthur sat perfectly still. The humiliation was a physical force, a hot, tight band around his chest. He was a spectacle, the old man being put out to pasture, and it was a cause for celebration, a joke. He looked at his son's face contorted in mirth and saw not the little boy he'd taught to swing a hammer, but a stranger. The cake, the German chocolate cake he'd brought for his own birthday, sat untouched on the picnic table. His hands, which had built this very house, began to tremble in his lap. He willed them to stop, but they had a mind of their own. He slowly, carefully pushed himself up from the chair. The laughter died down into an awkward, uncertain silence.